Hello, 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 and welcome to the Lust Podcast Show, the show that is rated R for real and not PG for playing games. I am one of your hosts, the Boss Lady.
And I'm the D.O.C, making it do what it do.
And we want y'all to continue to join us for our weekly conversations about life, culture, and everything else. What do we say? Get to know us what? Get to love us. This episode has been sponsored by Cigar Junkies as well as CJS Educational Services, so don't forget to continue to go get your merch. But before we go any further, I am very excited because this is a special episode. So forgive me if my smile is just so big and I can't stop cheesing, but to me this is really a special episode. But before we get into what the episode is about, how are you, Mr. D.O.C?
I'm great. I'm a little tired. I've been tired this whole week. I'm tired as hell.
Okay, that's how you come out?
Nah, I'm tired. You asked me how I'm doing great, but I'm tired.
Okay.
I'm tired.
Okay, noted.
Yeah.
Duly, we all know.
No, I'm keeping it real. The people want me to keep it real, but I'm tired.
Okay, cool. Well, let us get through this 3-course meal real quick before he gets even more tired. So we're going to jump right into this with the hot topic. This hot topic is actually something real serious. Because I just never did I think we would get to the point where now we see public officials get assassinated, get shot at, let alone the story of a Democratic Minnesota politicians being fatally shot, and their spouses also shot.
Mm-hmm.
One couple was actually killed. The other couple actually survived. But let's just kind of dive into this. D.O.C, what you want to say about this before I start throwing out some of these facts about what's going on with this?
I mean, I think
crazy.
if you've studied history and been a student of history, I wasn't born in the 60s. I was born in the 70s. But being a student of history and seeing that at that point in time, the country was on the verge of a civil war on the basis of race, and now you see it ramping up again. Here it is, almost 50 years later,
Mm-hmm.
and the exact same things are going on.
Yes.
I'm not surprised, no shocked by it. I mean, this is what happens when you openly support a xenophobe, a racist, a white supremacist, and you elect them and put them in office. That's what happens when you elect a person that's clearly against your best interest. Only thing I could do is advise, and really quickly, is I'm being serious when I say this. I think that the First Amendment, the right to bear arms, I think people really need to take serious consideration of what that means. And I think that every law-abiding black person in this country, even if you're not law-abiding shit, if you're a black person, I would advise you to own a firearm. Own a handgun, at least one, and own a rifle. I'm not advocating violence. I'm advocating self-defense. And so you should be ready. Because these people are not fucking playing. These people are coming to your house. They're threatening you. They have law enforcement people threatening people with deadly force for exercising their their constitutional right to freedom of speech, to protest. It's just crazy. You got the motherfucker using military to suppress peaceful and lawful protests. So I see it. What is it now? June? Shit, we'd be lucky if we get to Labor Day. I'm just keeping it real. Without some other, I mean, think about it. We got this going on that you just mentioned, Boss Lady. We got the situation in Israel. So it's a lot going on, but yeah. So that's my take on that.
Just even going back to this particular case, because the suspect is still out there, which is a 57-year-old gentleman named
Shootout with the police,
Butler, and said he wore a latex face mask, so that
this nigga was on some Mission Impossible shit.
He was dressed like a police officer. He had a shootout with the police.
That's the key thing. He escaped. Dressed like a police officer. That's how he was able to infiltrate.
And then on top of this, they claimed that, according to CNN, that he has a hit list with over 70 people on it.
Fucking hit list.
Including abortion providers, politicians, and other people. And this dude is still out there. That's the thing. But, I'm not going to lie. It's just amazing how some suspects are able to get away. Just somehow magically, some suspects are able to get away and just...
With a shootout.
Because
that just shows you how coward police are.
With the shootout.
Because when the motherfucker shooting back at them, all of a sudden shit go wrong. But they will shoot an unarmed black male with no problem.
I would say this. I think stories like this are going to increase. I think we're going to hear more of these type of stories. And I think now with people doing things like this and getting away with it, this gives other people and other groups, extreme groups, ammunition and actually proof in the pudding per se to do this. So I think you're really gonna see an increase in this.
I think that was a really great take. The only thing I can add to that is that, like you just said, is ramping people up. But what is ramping up is the everyday average white person to act stupid. The type of shit you seen in the 60s when you seen white women, white men walking up and calling you nigga. Now, it ain't happened to me, but they becoming some brazen motherfuckers from what I hear. In your everyday encounter with white people, these motherfuckers can be some brazen motherfuckers. They know who to pull that shit on and who not. But I'm just saying. I tell you this, I went to Costco and it was just amazing, just the dynamics of certain people within that store, within that parking lot. Just something as simple as like just coming down the middle of the aisle. It's a two lane aisle, but you just gonna come right down the middle of the aisle, and then if somebody tries to pass you, you get upset or like. Maybe they just can't drive. That could be it too. Hey, I don't blame everything on race, but maybe they just can't drive. I done seen quite a few hot heads of a particular race. So, anyway. You going to Southside Chicago? Them niggas can't drive over there. No, so that is true. That is true. But this is the whole thing, y'all. This dude is still at large. I think this could be the start of a bigger ploy. And I just say stay vigilant, watch your six. Yeah, and the one couple, they said that they had surgery and that they're still alive, so you just hope for their recovery and condolences to the other family. State Rep Melissa Hartman and her husband. Just condolences. I'm gonna tell you this one last thing I'm gonna leave people on is that World War II started off with a real innocent assassination of a political figure, and that actually started the domino effect that led to World War II. Who's to say that these assassination attempts could be what ignites a cultural race war? We've been talking about that. We've been saying this since the pandemic with certain protesters back then when we said that some of this was going to be a catalyst to different type of wars that would come, especially if Trump became president again. No doubt. Which we didn't think was going to happen, but hey, we're here now. So, with that being said, let's get into this entree. And I am just, again, I am just immensely proud of this particular entree for this show today, ahead of Father's Day. What better time to talk about this? What better time to talk about the release of this? And that is the D.O.C. release of his book, Gangsta and a Gentleman, the realest shit I ever wrote. A personal memoir that takes reader through the life of the real Mr. Sanders, a.k.a. the D.O.C. And I must tell you that one of the things that, before we even jump into this, because I get the privilege of interviewing Mr. D.O.C. to talk about this book. And I'll tell you this, one of the things that I do like about this is that it is a easy read. You don't have to be a damn scientific genius to be able to understand what's going on in this book and, what the message is being said and things of that nature. So without further ado, I want to pause and just introduce the author of the book, Mr. D.O.C. himself, before we get into these questions. And just round of applause. No doubt. Round of applause. Mr. D.O.C.,
You want to get straight into these questions? You got something to say real quick? Or
I mean,
you want
I
to
just
jump
want to
right
say
into
that
it?
it's been a long process. I had said that I was going to write a book when I was like
Now I got
a
questions,
freshman.
specific
No,
time questions.
but
So.
I'm just telling people. It's just a long process. It's not something that I did overnight. Um, but it was something that I felt that was needed. I really wrote it for my kids, honestly. But when I first initially wrote it, it wasn't for my kids. But as I started to write it throughout, the last 10 years or so, it was more so directed at my kids so they can really understand and learn how I tick. But I just want to say shout out to all the people that helped me in the process and encouraged me. You, of course, who served not only as support and assistance, but also like just editorial support. You have to read that shit and be very give a lot of criticism, on it and edit it and things like that. So I really appreciated that. Just the other folks that have supported it, my cousin Gree, who's really been a supporter of it. Even Greg Rising, we're gonna talk about him, who told me that I needed to write a book when I was in college. That sort of thing. My homeboy Dre, who told me I should have wrote a book back then. So shout out to all those people for initially planting that seed. But it goes all the way back. I've always been a writer.
So
Like
before
that.
you go into any more detail, we're gonna kick it off with the first question, and that is just going to the title. Because once again, if you didn't hear the title is "Gangsta and a Gentleman: The Realest Shit I Ever Wrote." What was the inspiration behind just the title of the book?
Yeah,
we're gonna dive into the book itself, but just the title alone, that's an interesting title. So what was the intro?
Well, let's just talk about the title. For one, I'm not allowed to advertise or market on Amazon because of the title. Because the title has a cuss word in it, the realest shit. You can't even put an asterisk in it. So that because of that and because of the image of me smoking, I can't advertise on Amazon because of that. So so that in and of itself denotes that, this is some real shit. And so the Gangsta and the Gentleman just talks about the dichotomy in life, the two different sides. You got the yin and the yang, the heads and the tails, the different aspects in how I grew up and how you evolve from one thing and you become another, but at the same time, just being who you are as a black male and how I grew up, sometimes you have to code switch. Sometimes you have to be that gangster in a certain situation. Sometimes you prefer to be a gentleman. But there's sometimes where you have to call on that. And the realest shit I ever wrote, that's a line from the Tupac lyric. You know what I'm saying? So I got that from Tupac, and that I just wanted the audience that I projected it to, like I said, my kids, but really that generation of folks. I want to let them know. When I always say I'm rated R for real and not PG for playing games, and so that's what this is. Everything is authentic. I'm exposing myself and just hoping that somebody can get something out of it.
So now that we know the inspiration behind the title, what is the actual inspiration behind the book, period? Like, I know you said that initially you started off, it wasn't for the kids, but it was for the kids. So just in general, give me a summary. What was the inspiration behind the book, period?
Well, it's crazy. I've always been a writer, like I said. I wrote letters to the editor when I was like in 5th and 6th grade in elementary school. That was just the type of person that I was passionate about different things that I needed to see. And so when I got to college at Northwestern undergrad, I used to have a lot of different philosophies. Motherfuckers used to always hear me running my mouth, talking my shit. And
Like
motherfuckers
now.
was like, still now, motherfuckers was like, and particularly a shout out to a young lady named Latoya Nevels. She went to Northwestern with me, and she was like, nigga, you need to write a book. And at first, the title of the book, the original title was What's Going On. That was going to be. But that title got taken years later by a guy, another black author called Nathan McCall. So I never did. So I said, I can't use that title no more. But that's where the initial inspiration came from. But then certain events happened. Meeting you. You know how we met and the things that we went through initially. And that was really the impetus and how I got through that situation. I was like, I need to put this down and incorporate the other stuff when I was an undergrad, which was more so about my political philosophies. That really wasn't about my life. my life really wasn't no different than any other nigga that grew up in the hood and had to struggle. So I didn't think I was special in that aspect. And so, but it was more so about my political philosophies. And so now this book incorporates not only my life's journey, but also some of my philosophies on life and my approach to certain things.
Some of your isms.
My isms, as they say.
Where you get your isms from?
Like making it do what it do. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this. You talked about, you used the phrase, it took a long time to write your book. So two-part question. How long did it take you to, I guess, kind of complete the book? And then how long was that entire process from that first thought back in Northwestern to when you actually published it?
I would say that's a great question. I would say when I actually first put something down and pinned it to paper, I got the original drafts too. I saved them. That was like almost, I think it was like about 15 years ago. Wow. And that's when it actually first started. And I put the basic outline and structure and things like that I wanted to do. And then, you know, life came, you know, hey, children got married and life took over. And then the thing about writing, especially some of the things that I was writing about, you know, it's almost like a form of PTSD. You're reliving that shit. And that shit's hard. You know what I'm saying? That's hard. And so that's, especially when you're talking about certain situations. And so that's the hard part of what you know, that makes it hard, the writing part, especially, you know, you reliving some of them situations and you want to get the detail down. You want to explain to people, you know, so they can understand, you know, what was going on.
But it still relives what happened.
When I said that I wanted to finish it, because I had about 80-90% of it, I said, you know what? I was trying to figure out a gift to myself. What can I give to myself? Because every year I give myself a birthday gift.
That is true.
And you know what I'm saying? And typically it's something materialistic, you know, a nice watch, a car. I'll give them a car, whatever, you know, whatever I wanted. And this time I say for 50, what can I gotten all the material things. I took my bucket list trip to the Maldives in February for my birthday. I said, you know what? I'm going to finish this motherfucking book. And so that was my gift. And I finished the majority of it. I did finish it on my birthday, but it wasn't complete. When you go through and you keep saying things, that's like anything with art. You keep saying little things, you want to refine it. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to make the goal to drop it on Father's Day for all the homies. So that was my goal, to drop it on Father's Day. So it's been finished, but I wanted to drop it on Father's Day. So yeah, so that's what I said. That was the reason why I wanted to finish it, because it was a birthday gift to myself, which was my 50th birthday gift to myself.
So let me ask you this, Cole. You said something when you started. You said that because of the title, because of the picture, and for those of you who all know the D.O.C, we know that he loves cigar. Of course, every show that we tape, he is smoking a cigar.
Yes, I'm smoking Amazon Basin Dagger. Just came out, new edition. Literally just came out, hot off the press. Maybe a week, 2 weeks old.
Okay.
This is amazing.
So him smoking his cigar on the cover is nothing new. Nothing new to people who really know who the D.O.C truly is. But my question to you is, so if it's just a matter of the word shit in this picture, is it easier, or have you ever thought about just changing part of the title and changing the picture? So
yeah, when I do the next edition, I'm going to take out shit and then change the picture, because I want to be able, not advertise, but I want it to be a book that possibly could be used in school. And I don't want the title
something like that to stop it from
being used.
There is a great message in there.
But like I said, I wrote it to a certain audience that resonates with that audience, and so that's the thing. But you know, I see it, you know, sometimes, you know, as they say, in order to get radio play, you gotta cut out the cuss words. And so that's what I do. I'm willing to do that. Okay. And it's still not gonna censor the book. Okay. We're just gonna change.
So if someone wants a copy, real quick, if I want a copy, since you say that you have issues with Amazon, what would I get a copy from?
So you can get a copy really two ways. The first way is through me. So if you local, or if you know, you hit us up. Subscribe. Now if you subscribe and you prove you subscribe, I'll give you a super discount in the deal. All right. So if you subscribe, hit me up, DM me, and we can, because I know some people are protesting Amazon. we can send it to you. Now it costs a little bit more because you have to pay for shipping, but you can go on right now on Amazon and get it on Amazon. Just type in Gangsta and the Gentleman, scroll, you're gonna see it on there. Click
I'll
to
tell
buy.
you this, I found the book by typing in the name Jimmy Sanders.
Yeah, you can type in Jimmy Sanders too as well. Yeah,
Jimmie. Just by the way.
so you can type in the book. So you can get it by, like I said, you can get a paperback or Kindle as well.
Okay, so I want to get into the nitty gritty, but before we do that, I got one last question. What was the most? I'll say this. What was the most difficult part about writing the book?
The difficult part about writing a book, believe it or not, it wasn't when I got shot. A lot of people, I talk about when I got shot, my brother got murdered. It wasn't that. It was the stuff about my mother. Yeah, that was different.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the chapters that I had. Because, when you're talking about people, I don't want to, these people ain't asking to be in the book or nothing like that. They don't want to be part of that. But I want to make sure that I present them in a light that humanizes them. I don't want to demonize anybody, so I want to make sure I humanize, but at the same time, telling the real deal of what happened.
You know what? Before we get into detailed questions, you brought up a good point. How do you avoid that? The conflict that may come with trying to tell your story truthfully and not offending people that's part of that story that you're telling.
Hey, well, when I put this out, that's one of the risks that I'm willing to take. I know that when some people read it, especially if people can't take a three-dimensional analysis, this is something that you can't read on the surface. You got to take dig deep into it. And so if they take a surface level, they're going to think that, oh, this nigga is just talking about somebody. But now, if they read this and then connect it to what's going on in the later part of the book, they're like, okay, now they can see the whole 360 analysis of it. You know what I'm saying? And so, but yeah, I do know it's like art. Everybody ain't gonna like it.
Okay.
So I know that. It's just like anything. Everybody ain't gonna like that song. Everybody's not gonna like your painting.
True. That
I do know that there are some people that are not gonna like it. All I tell people, it's like when people watch a movie, don't shit on the movie if you ain't seen it.
That's true.
Read the book.
Like straw. Yeah.
And then if you got questions about it,
yourself first.
Or let me know and this is the thing, I've been dropping snippets out there.
Yeah.
And some people to get some feedback, and I know motherfuckers are gonna be mad. But like I tell people, it's not about you. You're not as important as you think you are, because a lot of motherfuckers not even in the book.
Well, I'll say this. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. Yeah. So this book had 16 chapters in it. And I'm not going to lie. Some of the titles were interesting. For example, your chapter 6 is called Miller Maid. Your chapter 2 is called Misunderstood Nigga, and then your chapter 5 is called Bitch Assness, and we're gonna get to chapter 5 because I really need to dig into that chapter. But where did some of these titles come from? Because they're all interesting. Yeah. When you get the book, guys, and you look, the chapter names are not like your typical chapter names. So where did these chapter titles come from?
That's great. So in each chapter, as you're reading the book, I start off each chapter with a lyric from a hip-hop song, a rap song that resonated for me during that particular point in time. So each chapter starts off with a rap lyric.
Okay.
All right? I'm a huge hip-hop head, all right?
Okay.
But where I got these from, a lot of these are things that are philosophies, or things that are part of my life. It may be a particular song, like Make It Plain. That's an ode to Malcolm X. Malcolm X always said, make it plain. My grandmama will always say, make it plain. Stop all that high sedity motherfucker language. Just say what you gonna say. Make it plain. Misunderstood Nigga. That was my brother's album that he was actually supposed to drop. He was gonna drop an album called Misunderstood Nigga. And so that's where that comes from.
Now, can I ask you something? Yeah. Does the nigga stand for something in Misunderstood Nigga? And what does that stand for? Never ignorant and getting goals accomplished, which is an ode to Tupac. Okay. All right, 50 niggas. It wasn't about no criminality. It was about real life street niggas, community niggas coming together to control the means and things and productions within their own communities. Okay. Right. That's definition of a thug nigga, once again, an ode to
Tupac, Black Ghetto Boy. That's a song from Dr. Dre's Chronic album.
Okay.
Bitch assness, believe it or not, that and this may be controversial now because the person's on trial. That was actually a term that Puff Daddy coined, called bitch assness. And that how you gotta be vicious because there's a lot of bitch assness in the motherfucking business world, and there's a lot of niggas hating you on you. They just acting like bitches.
Okay.
Assholes, all wrapped in one. That's what bitch assness.
We're gonna come back to that chapter.
Miller Maid. That's a shout out, and that number is important. Chapter 6, number 6, Miller Maid. That represents a lot. Then Hood Stories, the hate produce. That was actually from a Mike Wallace documentary from the 1950s that he produced on the Nation of Islam. Hard Knock Life. That's Jay-Z.
Right.
My influences. That's just talking about my grandmama and things that were important to me. Knowledge of Self. That's an ode to the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, having knowledge of self. Louis Farrakhan, Growth and Development. That's talking about all the connection with Miller Maid. How you transition from being a gangster to a gentleman. You're about growth and development. For members only. That's an ode to Northwestern
growth and
University.
development, I ain't gonna lie. I thought you were actually talking about like GD, like actual GD.
It can be whatever people want it to be.
I ain't gonna lie, I was like, you game banging in this chapter?
No.
I mean, I read it, so I know you're not. But initially, when I just read the chapter, I was like, is he game banging in that chapter? Okay.
It just talks about the real. How you evolve from one thing that you can potentially become, but now you're facilitating growth and development.
So for members only. That's
about Northwestern University. That was the name of the black student organization. It was called For Members Only. Which was a play on words, how white people excluded.
And you were a president.
I was a president of that organization. And then from Miller to Capitol Hill, I actually had the ability, I was blessed to go to Capitol Hill 3 times and lobby
I remember
our state senators, not state senators, but our U.S. senators and legislators.
I remember
It was an amazing experience. And Be Real is actually an acronym that I got from, it stands for Respected, Educated, Authentic Leader. And that's actually a shout out to President Barack Obama's Black Male Initiative programs that he launched when he was in office.
Okay. So
everything means something.
Okay, so now that you kind of explain all the chapters, I do want to go back to one particular chapter because I feel like with Father's Day literally being right around the corner, I felt like this chapter resonated with what you see, what kind of comes around those issues with Father's Day, all of the above. So that chapter I gathered was about your dad or your relationship of or your lack of relationship of. So do you and if you do mind, let me know. I'll pause.
We're gonna talk about it.
But I want you, being a father now that you're a father of your own 2 kids, I want you to talk about where did that chapter 5 come from? Was that part of healing? Like, can you just really dive into chapter 5?
That's exactly what that was. Bitch assness. What you talked about was healing, was getting that out. And let me tell people, I'd already overcome that. The stuff with the father, I had overcome that when I was in my teenage years. You know what I'm saying? My mom did what she had to do. And so really that was a shot. I'm being real. You know what I'm saying? I really had an extreme dislike for my old man. I did not know him. You know what I'm saying? I remember I didn't go to his funeral.
Yeah,
when he passed away.
I ain't gonna lie, I didn't understand it initially. Because it wasn't just you.
Yeah, he never wasted time with me. So why would I waste time with him? And at that point in time, I had limited resources. I was just married, had just had a kid, had just started a new job. But no, he didn't do. Now relationships are complicated.
Yeah,
I do understand that the relationship with him and my mom were extremely complicated. But at the same time, me being a man, having raised 2 grown kids, been married for almost close to 21 years, I know what I would do. There's nothing that would stop me or prevent me from doing what I need to do with my children. I'm just keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. And so I felt that certain situations that he didn't step up. And then the other thing, he put us in compromising situations that could have gotten us killed. I talk about it at the book
the fire,
about, The fire wasn't his fault. That's just the memory I remember with him.
Okay.
But the shootout when we were, I think I was 10, my brother was 9, or I may have been 9, my brother may have been 8. You know, sometimes the exact ages escape me.
Right.
But my brother was my dad was a street nigga, and he was into he when I say street nigga, he wasn't no dope dealer. He was like the lowest of the street niggas. He was a petty thief. Them type of niggas.
The shysters.
The shysters, the scam. Them niggas don't like them niggas. You know what I'm saying? And so he'll pull the caper with him and some niggas, and he double back on them niggas and rob them niggas. So them niggas they wasn't no petty thieves, they was killers. So they came back and shot up our motherfucking house. I remember to this day, I could describe them two niggas. They came out, jumped out 5440 Daily Place in Miller and shot our motherfucking crib. We escaped by the skin of our teeth. And luckily, they had a back door in the projects where we stayed in the building we were in it. Because these were low-rise housing. These ain't like projects like high-rises. Right. These are like 13, duplexes 14, with an upstairs and a downstairs. And luckily, we escaped, ran out the back door, ran around the back of the office, and ran to my auntie Big Mama house. I always remember this. You know, and I felt that he knew what he had did. And luckily, those guys had called right before. I remember that he said, we was looking for your dad. I remember that my mom, I could overhear my mom and said, we about to shoot that motherfucker up. Because they thought the nigga was in there. He wasn't there. Wow. And my thing is, you knew you had did that and you never told my mom or nothing like that. Just to get so we could get the fuck up, get the fuck up out of there. That was some whole shit to me.
How did that make your mom feel when that happened?
Oh, yeah, you know, she was upset with that. You could imagine. You know, remember, I'm like 9 or 10, so I'm really not privy to their conversations and everything, but I know that she was highly upset. Together. I know that my aunties and my uncles, I know them niggas was upset. Because my people, my family, they not no hoes. They with that action. So they was ready to do what they had to do. So it was just like, yeah, that was crazy, man. And so, you know, you got those memories in addition to the domestic violence. And in addition to just not showing up. He never really did nothing, you know, with us. He was just, you know, then you find out later the reason why. I didn't know this when I was a kid. I never knew this as a kid. I didn't know this until I got older. That he essentially had 3 families. So he had 5 kids. So he had about 3 different women.
And I know y'all are like close in age.
Yeah.
Like very close he had
the way it goes is that my brother Lonnie, my brother Damon, then me, then my sister, and then Stacy. My brother, man, Stacy and me have the same mother. So between those 5 kids, there are 3 different women. And so he was bouncing. And the funny thing, all these women lived in different areas of the city. So they weren't from different hoods. So this nigga was bouncing. And Gary was big then. Gary wasn't small as it is now. Gary's a huge city, almost 300,000-400,000 people. So this nigga was bouncing all around. Smart ass nigga, ladies man type nigga. Just on bullshit.
5, but you only named 4.
No, I didn't. I named Lonnie, Damon, me, Denisha, and Stacy.
Okay.
But those that are biological, I still count Desmond and Ron as my brothers too. Desmond is the oldest of all of us, and then there's Ron. Ron is between Stacy. So Ron is actually the second youngest because he's older than Stacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I count them. So me, honestly, it's not 5, it's 7 of us. That's the way I count it. Yeah.
So did that, growing up with that type of relationship or lack of that relationship, did that have any bearing on how you raise your own kids?
Yeah. I knew what not to do. It was simple. I had no, and I'm not going to say I had no examples because shout out to my uncles Tim, my uncle Woo Woo in particular, and my uncle Bob. Those are the guys that really inputted certain things. So, and they're fathers to their kids, even to this day. Yeah. So I'm not going to even say that I didn't have no, even Mr. Rising, my mentor. So I'm not going to say I didn't have examples, but I knew what not to do because of that nigga. Okay. And I knew what to do because of those people. Now
you just mentioned something. So in your book, I would say this, guys, there's couple of chapters, particularly 10 and 11, where he talk about influences, major main influences. And so you mentioned some of these. Can you talk about just a couple of those influence and how they help shape your life? You can pick and choose which person, but can you just talk about a couple of those?
Really quickly, my mom, I talk about her and that, just her struggles. And really, some people think I'm putting out on Front Street, but it's really a struggle of resiliency, a struggle of love. Despite of all of that, there was always love shown. It was in different ways, in different modes. So you got that. My auntie Big Mama. So because of my mom, my auntie Big Mama stepped in big time. I love my auntie Big Mama.
Now, for those who don't know, his auntie Big Mama and his mom are twins.
They're twin sisters.
Twin sisters.
Yeah.
And they're just one of 4 sets of twins on his maternal side of his family, just to give context.
So my auntie Big Mama's almost like my mama. She probably got as much blood relations and genetic relations to me, probably closer to anybody in my family.
True. Being
and then, of course, my grandmama essentially saved my life because she made my mom sign the authorization to allow me to go to the Indiana Academy. I talk about that. Then there's my Uncle Bob. Despite he was a complicated character, but he showed
I like how you say that, complicated character.
Yeah, he showed me resilience. He showed me work ethic. He showed me follow through. He showed me how to be a man and get your money.
But sound like everything he showed you was positive.
But he had some other shit too. I talk about that. Then there's Mr. Rising. This is a white man, who I became friends with when I was 13 years of age. And people say 13, they think it's some other shit going on.
I was going to say, please explain it.
No, nigga, read the book.
If you say you're 13, and how old was he when he started?
Mr. Rising was probably in his 40s then.
So somebody be like, why is a 40-year-old white man taking interest in
this white man was an attorney. He used to be a U.S. congressman for Gary. So he's super connected. And my middle school principal at the time, I talk about this in the book, was Principal Joseph Winfrey, who's actually the cousin of Oprah Winfrey. I needed a job because I was trying to get money to go to these summer school programs and things like that. So Mr. Winfrey hired me to do yard work, and at the same time, his lawyer was Mr. Rising. Mr. Rising was looking for someone to clean his offices and do things like that around his offices.
Okay.
So he hired me at 13 years, even though that was a violation of child labor laws.
Can we please talk about that?
But he hired me because I needed the money. And his office was literally a 3-minute walk from the projects on Lake Street. And so he hired me. So that was a funny thing. So he hired me to clean his office. And over that time, from 13 to 18, he's the one that, really said, you can do this, you can do that. Not just this.
So he planted a seed?
Yeah, he's the one that convinced me to go to Northwestern versus Morehouse. And that's deep. Because he said that...
Would you just fall into the cracks at Morehouse?
No. He said this is what he said. I remember to this day. He said there would be 100 Jimmy Sanders at Morehouse, but there'll only be one in Northwestern.
And that's what sold it.
And that's what sold. He said you was and that's
true when you think about it. At Morehouse, it is a lot of them are the same.
And this,
it's hard to be distinguished.
I was, I talk about Northwestern, how I excelled as a leader there. I was able to get back and be recognized by the Northwestern Black Alumni Association because of my leadership. Cool to see. So it was right.
So I would say for me, it was cool to see because you hear these stories. And to have validation, because this dude is king of storytelling. So, to get the stories actually validated by going to the Black House and actually seeing like his picture on the wall and seeing how these people came to him at different events and how he got an award and all that. I was like, that's pretty dope. Because I was involved in school groups in college, but not to the extent that like I'm getting awards for the shit like 20 years later. So that was really dope.
Niggas didn't believe I was on the news until I had to show my kids that nigga, I was on the news when I was 20, 21 years old when I couldn't get security for bringing a speaker on campus, Dr. Khalid Muhammad. So I went and got the GDs. I'm not going to lie. I knew some niggas. I went and got the GDs from off Church and Dodge in Evanston, and off off Terrence, off Howard Street, and them niggas clipped up, and we had about 30, 40 niggas suited and booted with artillery, and we went in there and they secured my man because the shit was real. The shit was real. I talk about it in the book.
You gotta read the book. You gotta read the book. So before we start winding down, I do have a question. If you could only read one chapter of this book, let's just say for whatever reason you only have time for just one chapter.
Just one chapter.
What is the most important chapter that folks need to read so to really understand who this guy, the D.O.C., aka Mr. Sanders, or aka D.O.C.?
Ooh.
What's that one chapter?
That's a great question.
That I just, soon as I get my book in the mail, when I order it, supporting the black man, I'm going to go right to that chapter. What chapter is that?
I would have to say it's chapter 13, Growth and Development.
Why is that?
Because that's what the book is about. It's about the transition. It's about a story of resiliency. It's about navigating the speed bumps in life and how not letting certain situations dictate the remainder of your life. That chapter talks about how I got shot. That was the turning point in my life. I got shot, and I didn't get shot. I got shot, but my brother got murdered. And so I talk about that and how that affected me and things like that. That's when you came into my life. You were already in my life, but that's when I really understood the reason why you were placed in my life at that particular point in time. And so that's the chapter, and that's why I titled that chapter 13, Growth and Development. So yeah, that's the chapter.
Just curious, why did you use the lyrics from Gangsta, straight out of Compton, for this one?
Yeah.
Since I was a youth, I smoked weed out. Now I'm the motherfucker that you read about. Taking a life with Sue, that's what the hell I do. You don't like how I'm living? Well, fuck you. This is a gang, and I'm in it. Why did you pick that particular...
Yeah, because NWA, is a group that hip hop culture is a form of oppositional culture. It's a group that stood out for just being bold and bodacious, militant, but not only that, they were able to straddle both sides and use that and still get paid.
Yeah,
and they were able to grow and develop, and so that's what that is, and that's the reason why that's why I said people. Don't take a surface level look at it. You got to sit back and think through this shit. It's not like, okay. It's a lot deeper than what it seems. So all that was intentional. So I appreciate it. That was a great question.
Is this setting up for part 2?
Yeah, they're definitely going.
First thing I said was you need a part 2.
No, there's definitely going to be a part 2 because the part 2, the book, and that's a great question. The book only really covers the first 27 years of my life because I feel that by the age of 27, you should have figured out what plan or what pathway you want to take in your life as an adult. You should start, because if you ain't starting to figure the shit out at 27, you're going to have some motherfucking problems in your 30s and 40s.
You are.
So you need to start, because you need time. So if you need to go to school, if you need to get credentials, whatever you need to fuck to do.
Yep, you need to do that.
You need to start it at 27 so you can set yourself up in your 40s and your 50s to be straight. That's how I am now. In my 40s and my 50s, I'm straight.
That's true.
I'm straight. I'm straight. And now, like, I worry about 2 things: health and wealth. That's it. I just focus on health and wealth. And health is way more important than wealth. And so that's it, man. So this book only covers the first 27 years. So there's going to be a second part because I really want to talk about the second part. Is focus on 2 things. That's it. Marriage and parenting.
Okay. Marriage
and being a parent. That's it. Because people don't think that black love and black marriage exists. And people don't think that there are A1 amazing fucking black dads out there. That's the reason why we dropping this book on Father's Day.
True.
All of my homies, and shout out to my homies, all y'all niggas know, I don't fuck with niggas that ain't good dads to their children. You know, I don't. Now, they may be some crazy niggas in the streets that have done some things. But as far as a father, these niggas are fucking amazing. Grandfathers, these niggas are fucking amazing. And those are so that's what I want to shout out and dispel that rumor that they're not these good dads out there.
So really quickly before we get to the dessert of things of this meal, any lasting words about the book? Like if there's one thing if somebody's on the fence of should I support this brother, should I not? What are some lasting words that you can throw out there?
If you don't like the book, hit me up and I give you your dub back. But you gotta tell me why you ain't like the book. But I guarantee you're gonna like the motherfucking book because it's real and authentic. Y'all, I'm gonna tell you straight up, motherfuckers ain't never seen no shit like this. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
Because I read. I'm a very well-read person. You know that. And I know motherfuckers ain't never seen nothing like this.
Okay.
I know that.
Well, we're gonna leave it here and we're gonna put it out there. By the way, before we get into our fair or foul, I know you said it before, but can you say it one last time? Where do people go to actually buy the book?
That's a great question. So right now, you can go on Amazon. You can order on Amazon paperback, or you can order it for your tablet. No hardback, because that's cost effective. I want people to be able to afford the book. That's the other thing. I don't want the big. I could put a hardback and charge 30, 40 fucking bucks. But also, if you want autographed copies, hit me up, and then we can make arrangements to get those to you too as well. Yep.
All right. Well, with that being said, we just wrapping up the book portion of the entree. We're about to jump into this dessert, fair or foul, real quick. Fair or foul is kind of silly. This is like the summer barbecue edition of fair or foul. So first thing, going to a barbecue without being invited directly, is that a fair or foul?
Foul, man. We've already talked about that. You know, I ain't gonna lie. I went to a situation where I thought I was invited. But, you know, the spouse of the motherfucker invited me, or he told me about it. And I showed that. It was like, pretty much, nigga, why you here? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we felt it. We like, fuck them. I ain't fucking with them. I ain't fucking with none of that shit.
So what do you do if somebody comes to one of your events uninvited? What would you do?
That's easy. I done did that. Who the fuck are you here with? I stop them. Who are you here with? So now I need to know who sponsored you.
Okay.
Because you know, and I tell people, this is the other thing. If people have ever been to the Boom Boom Room, we've been here in the Boom Boom Room almost 20 years.
Yeah.
We've only had one incident where we thought we was gonna roll a nigga in some carpet and have to do something to a nigga. We ain't gonna. That nigga's in jail too right now.
Yeah. No, we did have somebody we had to put out. Like, actually had to walk out.
Only that time, and then one time,
only 2 times.
When my nigga T-Baby died, nigga got reckless, and I say, fam, you better get the fuck up out of here, because if the other niggas hear you, they gonna fucking bury you right here in my motherfucking basement floor.
Yeah, 2 times.
So he got the fuck up out of here. We put that nigga up out of here. That was it. But most of the times you come here, it's pretty straight.
Yeah.
Like,
as long as you tell us who you come with, it's cool.
Yeah, so I don't do that, but I would check people in a minute.
How about this? How about going to a barbecue?
Don't do that. Don't bring uninvited. Just ask, can I bring somebody?
Yeah, that's it. I just say, always text or call and say, hey, do you mind if I bring somebody? Yeah. Male or female, whatever.
What the fuck? And you responsible for that motherfucker too.
Because if they show out, your privileges get revoked.
Because he's not a friend of mine.
Right, he's a friend of yours.
So you're responsible for him. I'm just saying.
Even if the person tells you no when you ask, going to a barbecue or summer event empty-handed, or like with just enough for yourself. Even if the person, the host, like, oh no, don't bring nothing, you cool.
At the minimum, everybody fucking drinks. So at the minimum, bring some water.
Okay.
Bring a bottle of liquor. And bring what you're drinking. And leave it. So if you don't finish the bottle,
what you just saying?
Leave it.
Leave it. Because I've seen parties where people bring bottles, and if they don't, if their bottle doesn't get drunk, they take it back. I've seen that.
You cheap. We've
had it happen here. Well, we like, didn't we have a bottle or something like that?
These people are expending money for food, decorations, time to set up. Leave the fucking bottle. It's only a motherfucking half of a pint. You cheap motherfuckers. Leave the bottle.
How about this? Getting drunk at a barbecue, fair or foul?
Depends on whose barbecue it is. But no, I'm a person, I like to be on my square. So I'm never going to get inebriated.
I'm going to say, first of all,
that's fine.
Because I didn't get my answers, but I still say, even if a person tell you they don't need nothing, always show up with something.
Yeah.
Always show up.
And don't show up with used hot dog buns.
Like I said, show up with something.
Motherfuckers came to the picnic, the cookout, with used hot. It was like, how the buns used? Because, nigga, the buns supposed to have 8, they had 5 in them.
Last one. Going to a barbecue and taking over somebody's music. Meaning, like, either with your Bluetooth, you take over, or either you take over by demanding certain songs.
Hold on. But Boss Lady, I feel like this is a loaded question. I feel like you coming at me with this question. Shout out to my auntie Lissa. We gangsters when it come to that.
Man, we will come. That is foul.
I always have a speaker in my thing. Nigga, I'll take over your shit in a minute.
Foul.
Me and my auntie Lissa known for that. Like,
that is foul.
Your shit ain't talking about shit. Your vibe ain't right. We need to get the vibe right.
You know, I'm gonna tell you right though. I'm gonna tell you.
But don't I get? I've saved many a parties.
I'm gonna tell you something. When we get invited somewhere. I always have to have, like, you know how you have to have a pep talk with your kid? I always have to get this pep talk with him to be like, when we go to so-and-so's event, if they music ain't all there, please don't somehow take over their Bluetooth. Don't become the DJ of their party. And they didn't hire you as the DJ.
Remember the one party we went to, the nigga was playing Britney Spears
and
Alicia Keys.
That was
like, what the fuck, bro? And then he got mad at me like, nigga. Niggas is leaving the party.
He got better, but that particular
But niggas left the party. He killed the whole party.
I tell you this, a bad DJ can fuck up a party.
He killed it.
Bad music will kill a party.
Shout out to my niggas DJ K Caesar, DJ Dark Knight.
Yes, congratulations to Dark Knight.
Yeah, congratulations to Dark Knight. Cheese Beats.
Yes.
My nigga
All Out.
Flex, Out.
Luga.
Yeah, all the motherfucking Chicago. I mean, I said Chicago. All the GI. All the GI motherfuckers.
Any
DJ.
party that they had that you go to, you gonna be musty because you gonna dance all day. You're gonna dance.
You're gonna be musty. Gangsters don't dance, they boogie. I don't know what she talking about.
Well, with that being said, that wraps up our dessert, our fair or foul. And with this being said, again, y'all, yes, I am smiling big because, again, y'all don't understand how many times I heard this dude say, I'm going to work on my book. I'm going to do this with my book. And I kept saying, would you please finish your book? I've been telling this dude that he should have been sharing his story with young men in different places and different entities from prisons. I told him he need to be talking to prisoners. He need to be talking to kids.
Well, you know that. I do get I do the mama mentality.
But you could take that so many different levels.
I do those.
That. You can take that to a whole different level. So all I'm saying is, y'all, put the hate in the suitcase, pack the hate up, put it somewhere else, put it in the closet, support, get the book. Very, very good book. Very easy read, support. And just shout out to D.O.C, aka.
You know, I always wonder. This one thing I want to ask. I always wonder, like when rap artists, when they drop an album, like when Lil Wayne, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, do they family members actually go and buy the album?
You know, I
always wondered that.
Hope there's enough family members.
I always
you know what?
Because my family is huge.
We're gonna pause.
I know, I'm dead serious.
Because
I always like, do they
I
support?
tell you this, between the amount of family on both sides, there should be at least 100 more subscribers. You know, you should have every T-shirt and hoodie sold out. At least the first 100 copies of the book should be sold. I'm talking about both sides of the family. But I hate to say it, but the truth is that they don't happen that way, and that's a lot of people who are in these trenches with small businesses and trying to do things and do that. A lot of times it's the main family that sometimes don't support.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's change that narrative. Please change that narrative.
I will say before we leave, I will say this, that I have gotten support from my family, and I'm not gonna say that people haven't, but it's not as supportive as I would have liked it. The people that support me, I already knew they was gonna do that.
Right, because they gonna.
I'm talking about the other people.
Right,
them people gonna do that regardless. I'm talking about the other people.
Right.
Why wouldn't you do this?
Right.
Because I support you. I buy all that bullshit double duty popcorn, and your kid can't play no motherfucking sports, and I still buy that shit, knowing that nigga can't hoop. He can't play football. Damn sure too fat to be a cheerleader.
That's a whole hot topic in itself.
So, but I still buy the popcorn. But you won't buy my motherfucking T-shirts, hoodies, or book. Anyway.
Well, let's change that narrative, y'all. So let's go out and support. Go out, hit subscribe. Continue to hit subscribe. Continue to hit like. Once again, Gangsta and a Gentleman, the realest shit I ever wrote. There you go. And with that being said, peace out. Peace out on that one. Peace out.